Welcome to the wanderings and ponderings of a wobblegob, a lover of all things stitched. Hi, I'm Anne, aka Handmade, a mum, wife, teacher and artist living and working in Yorkshire in the UK. From a young age I've been known as a wobblegob, a term my mum gave me due to my continuous chatting about nothing as a child. And yes, this has stuck with me, and now I'm sharing the things that go round in my brain, my wanderings and ponderings and all things stitched, in my vlog. I hope you enjoy it.
But before you do, we want to give you a little bit of context and show you how things used to be done before we had factories. So all of these implements that you can see up here, these would have been used in people's homes, and the whole family would have been involved in the production of cloth. Now in the early days we're looking at linen and wool, if you're lucky a little bit of silk. About 300 years ago, cotton becomes really popular because it's so cheap, it's so cool, it's easy to print on. Doesn't grow in Britain though, so it would have to be imported by the merchants in Manchester via Liverpool, and they would send this cotton out to the weaving villages in great big sacks. The weavers would receive the sacks. The same agents or factors, as they were called, would come back a week or two later and pay the weavers for the finished fabric, but the whole family would have been involved. First job you've got is to get all the knots and the mess out of that, and that job's called carding. So I've got a pair of cards here. This is from the Latin for cardulus, which means thistle. Apparently they used to use thistles in the earlier days. You get one of your cards and you just press the cotton on the outside edge of that card. Not very much, you don't need no more. You get your other card and you start to brush. you're trying to get all of the knots out. You're trying to pick out any foreign matter that you don't want, but most importantly, you're trying to get all of the fibres in a nice straight parallel formation. That makes it better for spinning. When you've done all of that, this job incidentally would have been given to a child if you had children. It's fairly low skill, but it's quite physically demanding. And children would have been given this job to do. When you're happy with your cotton, I'm not, but let's just use our imagination. You change the orientation of your cards, and because the bristles are angled, when you brush this way, it actually lifts that cotton, it frees it from the spikes. You can then drop it onto a flat surface and either fold it up or get yourself a little stick, trap that underneath and wrap it round, and hey presto, if I pull that out now, I've got a very cute little cotton sausage that I can use for spinning. The thing about fibres, any fibre doesn't have to be cotton. If you pull a bunch of fibres apart, they just break. The minute you put a little bit of twist in, they get much stronger. They start holding on to one another. Plus, if you just twist it and you let go, all it does is unwind. To spin cotton or any fibre, what you need to do is pull and twist at the same time. And that gives you a very strong, but very thin and regular piece of thread that you can then use for sewing or for weaving. And that's what we mean by spinning. So I could carry on doing that by hand, and indeed in the early days they would have had a drop spindle, something with a way that you spun, allowed it to drop, and that allowed you to do childcare, to do your shopping. If you were a nomadic tribe, it was ideal. These spinning wheels came in from Europe in the 1200s, we believe. These were the earlier ones. Later on, the Saxony wheels with the treadles, about the 1400s, they came into. And these are fine for cotton. Basically, the way a spindle works, if you know this, I don't want to teach my granny how to suck eggs. If you know this, please let me know. But basically, the principle of a spindle, for anyone who doesn't know, get my ribbon. So there's my spindle. Imagine this is my cotton. You can see the twist going in better with the ribbon. I'm going to turn my spindle, and the cotton will work its way to the very edge of the spindle. Eventually, it runs out of spindle and it jumps off. And when it jumps off, you see it gets twisted. Every time it jumps off, it's getting twisted. So that's how a spindle works. That gives me the twist. To effect the pull, I'm just going to use my arm. I'm going to pull the cotton that way. So the spindle's doing the twisting, my arm's doing the pulling. I'm doing both of the things that I need for spinning.
Yeah, I've seen it doing, but nobody's ever explained it like
that. When I turn
that.
this, it's just a gear system. One big turn of the wheel makes that go around about 20 times, and that allows me to put all the twisteds. Behave! I've got a rogue piece of roving there. So what I'm going to do, got a little bit that I've already spun there. I'm going to guide that to the end. And as you saw with the cotton ribbon, every time it jumps off it gets twisted, but you can't see it with the cotton.
Oh wow.
And that twist will naturally seek out the thickest, fluffiest part of the cotton. And I'm just letting it, I feed it through my fingers, and I pull my arm back. If it gets too thin, I put more twist in. If it gets too lumpy, I pull it back a bit more. And you just get used to the feel of that. When I get to about here, my arm starts to ache a little bit. So I'm going to pinch that cotton and stop the twist going any further that way. Just put lots of twist into that length that I've got there to strengthen it. And I can even use this machine to wind the spun cotton on just by altering the angle that I hold the cotton at. So when I turn it like this, it winds onto the bobbin. When I get to about here, I'm going to lead it to the end, and off you go, ready for another one. You can get faster. So most women would have known how to spin, and young ladies would have learned how to spin from the age of about 9. What they can spin in an hour, the husband, the weaver, could use up in 5 or 10 minutes. So you always needed more spinning hours than you had weaving hours. And that was fine in the woolen and linen days, because the weavers would be agricultural workers working in the field, coming and doing a bit of weaving in the evening, a bit more in the winter perhaps. But once cotton, the price of cotton fell in the 1790s because of the cotton gin, it paid the weavers to work full time, and then they're hunting around for as many spinners as they can get. If they've not got enough females in the family, they go looking for more in the village to pay. All women were called spinsters if they could spin. The ones who got paid for it retained that name because it was their profession, whereas the married women were just housewives and doing the spinning for nothing. So the spinsters kept that name. We're going to take that and we're going to turn it into fabric on this big loom here. And basically, this loom's just great frame. It's got a roller on this side and another roller on here. Stretched out in between those two rollers are hundreds of really, really strong threads because they're undergoing a lot of tension. And they're called the warp threads and they form the skeleton of our fabric. To turn them into fabric, we're going to get another kind of thread, the weft thread, and we're going to make that thread go under and over all of those warp threads. And this is a very plain weave, what we call a plain weave, one over, one under. There are other weaves that you can do, but this is set up for a very plain weave. It's about 300 threads there. It's going to take me a long time to go from one side to the other. So to speed things up a little bit, I've got all of my threads connected to shafts here, my little eyelets. And that allows me to manipulate all of those warp threads with my feet. We've got this one set up so it separates the odd threads from the evens. So at the moment I've got all the odds in the air, the evens on this base, this wooden base here, and there's a gap in between my odds and my evens, just big enough for this shuttle to fit through. If I throw that shuttle through and catch it with the other hand, little bobbin inside unwinds, it leaves behind a single line of cotton thread, and that cotton thread is sitting underneath all my odds and on top of all my evens. So it's exactly the same as going under the odd over the even, under the odd over the even. And I use that to squeeze the cotton up tight and make this fabric a little bit longer. Swap my feet over, I've got the evens on the top, odds on the bottom. Send my shuttle back between that gap. Got another line of thread sitting under the evens and over the odds, and the end of the thread just wraps around the very last warp thread and creates that nice tight selvage edge that won't break. And you just get into a rhythm with that. Backwards and forwards, swapping, it's quite therapeutic for about 5 minutes. So a good weaver on a machine like that could make about a foot, about 30 centimetres in new money, an hour, in 1 hour. You're limited on that machine as to how wide you can make your fabric with one person. I can only make it as wide as my wingspan. If I want to make it wider than that, for say like a sail or something like that, people were making for hundreds of years, I'm going to have to employ another weaver and pay them to catch my shuttle and send it back to me. Yeah, so that's too.
Wow. So the carding engine, has anybody done any carding, any hand carding? There's quite a technique to it, isn't there? What a revelation when this came along. Carding engine is really, normally we have a lap on the back of here. It's the first time I've seen our carding engine without a lap on its naked to down frame. So normally it comes to a very dangerous part of the machine. It comes over the top drum, up onto this front drum, and this has got a rough metal surface, so the very good long fibres stick onto the drum. Now when I talk about a long fibre, I'm talking about 2.5 centimetres max. So when the machine's on, what it's doing is very gently combing off all of those good fibres, and it funnels it here into the can in a very controlled manner. What the machine doesn't want, it doesn't want short fibres, it doesn't want any rubbish. That's dropped out of the front of the machine. That's what we call shoddy. So if anybody's ever accused you of doing a shoddy job, it's kind of second rate. So you'll be mortified now, saying, how dare you compare me to a piece of unwanted cotton, thank you. So what we would do is we take these cans and we bring them over here. This is what we're looking for when the machine's running, is to make sure there's no damage to here. These can get clogged up under here where the turrets are. More importantly, I'm making sure that my cans are not likely to run out of cotton at the rear. Just imagine that might be your job for your entire working life. 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, just looking after this piece of equipment. You would not work your way around the mill and operate other machinery.
Wow.
So we would take this can here with 2 stripes on and we move it over to the slug thread. The front is running 3 times faster than the one at the back. So as it's drawing it through, it's drawing it down the fly arm. That puts control, twist in, it puts 5 turns in every 2.5 centimetres. I will apologise, it can be quite a loud machine. And of course I always feel like it's a slight advantage with my ear defenders. When these become full, which will be close to the other arm, as gentlemen used to lift their caps or doff their caps to ladies, we call it doffing the machine. So we would lift all of those full bobbins off and replace it with the empty bobbins.
Invented in 1790s, but this is a 1920s version. So this is getting towards the end of them being used really. Within a few decades you're going to be upstairs running on a ring spinner, which you might have seen. You've been upstairs yet to the 3rd floor, so you're going to see the ring spinner going. This is one machine, would have been run by a team of 5 people. You'd have the spinner in the middle in charge of the headstock. Once upon a time he'd have been hand cranking this in and out, so it would have been incredibly strong. This is a self-acting one, so suddenly it gets very dangerous. It's going to roll in and out regardless. They're not going to be able to check if anyone's out of the way and suddenly stop it. On his team he'd have had 2 pieces, one either side, and the piece's job is to walk in and out with the carriage all day, mending these threads, rubbing them between your hands. So you're doing this all day. If you grow up doing that as a teenager, you're going to damage the top of your spine probably. You're going to be breathing in a lot of dust as well. And you'll be doing that barefoot, so you'd end up walking about 10 miles a day. But it wasn't the worst job. The worst job was saved for the children, unfortunately. So either side there would also be a scavenger. As the carriage rolls out, the scavenger ducks underneath, picks the cotton up off the floor. If it's oily, it's going to go in the bin, it's a fire hazard. And if it's clean, it's going to be recycled and used again and go back into the process. So I'm going to put this on in a minute, and this carriage is going to roll out to the end of the tracks, bringing a length of this with it. This is a roving that hasn't been spun. So it's going to pull it out here, pause at the end, do its spinning motion, and then it's going to roll back in and wind that now thread onto these bobbins down here. And for a spinning mill, that's your final product, your bobbin of cotton. Polyback mill is a little bit unusual because it ended up doing weaving and spinning. So in our instance, it goes upstairs and gets woven into fabric. Everyone's barefoot, you've got the chance of your toes, fingers being chopped off, all the dust in the air, viscosis, cotton lung, all the open belts and all the...
So these machines here are power looms, they're going to make our fabric for us. And we've got around 20 of them set up in here, but originally we would have had around 300. Now those 300 would have actually been where the cafe used to play. So if you're planning to go for a brew later and you'll be sitting in the rooms which had this sort of machinery. Now we have set them up as they would have been set up, so they are going to be nice and wrapped, nice and tucked in together. One person is generally expected to look after 4 of these at once, and they're all paint molded, so we're going to keep running them as much as possible. Now as of today, we're working with a calico. This is sort of On these looms in particular, we could only make plain or striped fabric. So that's why we show plain sort of roasting. If you do want to make striped though, you can alter your warp threads, pulling across the top. And later sort of inventions of looms have like a little rotating box inside, which meant that as the shuttle goes back and forth, it will then stop the shuttle, and then you can start to use new colours in the opposite direction to make more of a checkered sort of pattern stuff. Now, if you've got a really, really elaborate loom called a jacquard loom can actually weave very elaborate patterns into your fabric. So this has been woven in. It's very elaborate. If you do have a jacquard, you have to design the whole pattern beforehand. It works off like a punch card system, so you've got to program it into the loom itself. But because the jacquard
Hello everybody, thought I'd just pop in and say hello. I've not really got much to say on the Wobble Gob this week, or much to show you really, because I've just this minute got back from setting up the exhibition in Huddersfield, which had a very quick shower, just very mucky. Anyway, so exhibition's all set up, so just after this I'll do you a super fast video of us setting it all up. Took 6 hours, a bit bonkers, had lots of holes to fill, painting to do, putting up, things got put up, then fell down. It was a little bit stressful, but anyway, we're all done and dusted now, so it's all up. Not going to give you a sneaky peek of it yet, you'll have to wait.
Opening's on Friday if you'd still like to come. It's 5 o'clock till 8 o'clock at Calder Graphics by Remarklade, Huddersfield. But I have done a video of the exhibition for those people that can't come. I'm thinking of setting up a Just Giving page because at the exhibition I'm raising money for the MS Society. So I don't know whether or not anybody fancies doing a little donation maybe, but I'll put some details in at the end of the in the blurb. If I do get that all set up. Everything's just a little bit bonkers at the moment, but I've got nothing to show you because everything's now in Huddersfield. So hope you enjoy the little quick setup. It'd be nice if you could actually set things up that quickly. Can I just say a massive, massive thank you to everybody that sent me a circle for the piece that I'm doing as part of the exhibition. It's been really, really heartwarming, and I feel very, very honoured to have received people's circles, and I've just loved how some people have sent me a little note or a letter just explaining what their circles mean to them. And it's, I don't know, I feel very honoured to be creating this piece of work, and the fact that the holes, we're not on our own, we're all together, and Stitch brings everybody together, which is why everybody's here really, why you keep watching my Wobble Gobs, because she just loves Stitch as much as I do. So thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. You can still send a circle in, I'll still keep adding them. Don't panic if you've not seen yours. On my Instagram I've still got a pile of envelopes to open, but I'm going to take those with me next week and start stitching them all on. And people are going to be stitching onto it as well, actually, at the exhibition. So it's going to be really nice. I'll keep everybody updated with what's going on. But thank you for joining me. Hope you enjoy my little sneaky peek of us putting everything up. Luckily there was no bad language, which is quite good. Massive shout out to my daughter Harriet for helping me. She's amazing at stuff like that. She just keeps me really, really calm, and she has a really good opinion about things, so I do really value her help. I'm very lucky really. So yes, hope you enjoy it, and if you come into the exhibition, fantastic. If you can get to Huddersfield and you've not booked on one of the Stitch and Chats, whenever the exhibition's open, you're more than welcome just to pop in and come and see the exhibition. But if I see you Friday, that'd be lovely. If I can't see you, love, hugs, happy stitching everybody, and take care. I'll see you soon.